Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm YK Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today we're here with Tullibardine 500. And I'm so happy to hear that there were some of you in a previous video that were requesting this in the comments, because I do think it's a wonderful expression. And of course, the name, the 500, refers to the cask that has been used to mature this. So it's been first full ex-bourbon first, and then it's also been matured in Spanish ex-sherry casks. And these casks are sherry butts, which are 500 litres, hence the 500. And of course, when we're talking about these sherry casks, I'm so surprised they don't put it on the bottle, and which makes me doubt if it's true or not, but I've heard it from a brand ambassador and I've also read it online, that the sherry casks used are Pedro Jimenez, which is of course is a cask that it's very popular with a lot of people's palates. So I'm surprised they don't put it on the bottle or really on the website either, but if that's true, this is a whiskey that's enjoyed maturation in both those bourbon casks and Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. They of course have other whiskies in this expression, like the 228, which I believe is the Burgundy one, and a 225, which is the Sauternes one, so that's also referencing the size of the casks. And this whiskey sits at 43%, and it's from a Highland distillery, of course, Tullibardine. I don't know if you can see it, but on the top of the neck here it says 1488, which is not precisely when the whiskey started, but kind of when the story of Tullibardine started. So it was a young King James IV of Scotland who visited the brewery that was located where the distillery is now, and he bought a beer because it was quite a renowned beer from this brewery at the time. But it wasn't until 1947 when they changed this brewery into the distillery we know today. So yeah, that's quite a fun little story, but let's have a little nose on the whiskey. This is such a lovely nose. It's quite autumny and quite musty and quite big. It's like raisins and a little bit of chocolate, like cocoa powder. It's quite sweet, but quite autumny, like a bit of crisp leaves, maybe a bit nutty as well. I love the nose on this one. I think it's lovely, and I can't wait until it's autumn and I can sit and enjoy a dram of this. Or just a cold evening, because that's what we have most nights here in Scotland. Still quite sweet, but quite heavy. In a good way, so it's kind of that density that you could get from the European oak and the sherry casks. And a toffee. It's kind of starting one way, it's kind of just like a little bit like like a very, very tiny punch in the nose when you first nose it, because it has this kind of big wowing factor, and then it just kind of settles out and leaves you with these kind of lovely, kind of nutty toffee notes. Yeah, the toffee's just coming out more and more, I think. Of course, let's have a little taste, Slangeva. It's quite gentle. It just kind of like it comes over, the flavour comes like a really soft breeze over the tongue. So it's not overpowering. And it's quite creamy, but it's quite light. It has a touch of that nuttiness. A nuttiness that gives you a slight dry sensation, but also at the same time it leaves these kind of toffee notes and a bit of that sweetness coming through. On the finish it just grows and grows and grows and grows, and it's quite earthy on the finish. Quite leathery, I think is the word for it. But it doesn't have any prickling spice or anything that kind of nags on your tongue. There's some of that raisin sweetness, but it's not very sticky. It's just kind of a soft raisin sweetness along with a toffee sweetness. And then it has this kind of malty, nutty base layer, I would say. Very interesting. I think what I'm getting now on the finish from that kind of drying bitter sensation, which is kind of on the back of my tongue and on the finish, it's like an oaky character. So if you were standing next to a tree that was kind of damp, like if someone cut a tree in half and then left it there for a few years, and you happen to stand next to it on a rainy day and you smelt that wet wood that wasn't super fresh but it still gives you that kind of woody sensation, that's kind of the finish on this whiskey. I feel like that was a really weird tasting note, but that's the best way to describe it. It's that kind of autumny wet leaves feel. But the nose is just so sweet. Yeah, real autumn dram, I would say. It's yeah. I would of course love to hear if you have tried any Tullibardines. Have you tried a 500, or perhaps you tried another of their expressions? One other Tullibardine that's part of my favourite was the Murray. I think it was the first batch, but I'm not entirely sure. They do a few different ones, but it's the Marsala one that I thought was a really lovely whiskey. And if you're looking to buy any bottles, I'm so happy to be collaborating with Master Malt and the Whiskey Exchange. So if you are buying any bottles and you would like to support me at the same time, I would of course be absolutely over the moon if you would consider using my links, which you can find on my website or in the description here below. That way I can keep growing my brand and make more entertaining and fun content for you guys. I of course also want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful Patreons who keep supporting me, and I'm so happy that you guys want to continue to be a part of my journey. And if you are interested in sneak peeks and behind the scenes, I do that kind of stuff on my Patreon. That information is also here in the link below, as well as details for my website and my Instagram if you're curious about that. But as always, I hope you guys have had an absolutely wonderful day. Slàinte mhath.